to an episode of After Further Review. It's been a couple weeks, so we got lots to talk about, boys. We got Kaylin with us. We got Josh filling in for Shane. We
Look
got
at that
Jersey Day going on.
mustache! Holy Ricky, this is the first time I actually looked at the screen since we
I know. I've
got.
been waiting for you to say something.
Holy lordy! Look at those handlebars. I just want to ride that thing like a Harley. Oh my!
Yeah, Josh has got his little stash going on. Looks like you
Oh, he
kind of
does?
slacking.
Maybe he's just using
Just
it
so you
like one
can
of those
see it
480p cameras from back in 1990. I can't see it, Josh. Do you have a little stash going on there?
I do. Me and Liam this month are going to race and see who can get the thicker stash by the end of it. He clean shaved. I didn't clean shave, so we'll see how it goes. Guess you're going to have to stay tuned to going for two for the next month.
Well,
Yes, he's got the old Crosby going on there.
Sorry, fellas, I would have
yeah.
jumped on this parade with you here. Unfortunately, my wife has never seen my chin in the 9 years we've been together, so I'm not about to do that right now. Give me a few more years. I'll maybe when she can't leave me.
But you don't even have a lot of hair there. Mine was like thick. That's what I said. This is the only time of the year you'll ever see my chin, so you better enjoy it.
Oh, I certainly am enjoying it. I'm glad you brought it out the way you have.
All right, that's awesome. So, brought to you by Going for Two, as mentioned as well. We got Jersey Day going on. We got the Mavs. We got all the new hot sauce going for two. Beautiful. We got Luca. We got Vince Carter, Air Canada baby. And we got, I don't know who's on the back
There's
of that.
nothing on this one, baby. This is just au natural. That's what I'm doing from now on, Ricky. I have decided, you know what? And even with these DH Gate, I don't care. Wherever you want to get these jerseys from, Russia, China, doesn't matter anymore to me. I'm never getting a name on it. I'm rocking au natural, baby.
But I thought that was gonna have. I thought it was gonna have Putty on the back of it for sure from Seinfeld.
Putty. Yeah. I do. You know what? I should get a pop of him, a little Funko Pop of that boy if I can.
You should. All right, well, let's get her started here. We're going to start with World Series because it's been a super entertaining World Series so far. Yesterday we had only this, it blows my mind. Only the second no-hitter in World Series history yesterday. Don Larson with the other one. And it was a combined four-pitcher no-hitter. Pretty impressive, because the Phillies looked like they were hitting the ball really, really well. And then you come in and you shut them down with four pitchers. So I don't know if you guys watched it, but it was a pretty impressive pitcher.
Or 5 to 7 strikeouts were ridiculous. It was just, it didn't matter where they wanted to put the ball. The batters were going to swing at it no matter what. And I think that part of it was just, Philly was feeling it, right? Like I made in jest a joke in the chat, Josh, I'm sure you saw it, when I was like, who the fuck are these Phillies? Like, I think, Shane wants to say that was his call to start the season. Give me a friggin' break. Nobody was really thinking that the Phillies, after 20 years plus of not making the playoffs, wasn't it? That they were going to suddenly go on this ride. And that's great for them because they've got the Eagles, they're riding that wave right now too. The Flyers have been good to start the season so far. So this is just sports in Philly. I mean, this is what happens, right? Couldn't have happened to a shittier city, though.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Bryce Harper, though, you got to give him credit. This guy, he's really come through for them. Tons of moments already in this World Series and in the playoffs. It's like when a guy gets a big contract like that, it doesn't matter if he has a good season. It really doesn't. Look at Aaron Judge, 60 home runs and he did fuck all in the playoffs. People aren't going to remember that you had, 40 home runs and 130 RBIs. They're going to remember if you hit in the fucking playoffs. And they're going to remember if you hit in the World Series. And if you come through the way he has, regardless if they win or not, he's the reason they're there right now because their pitching hasn't been the greatest. And, it's really impressive what he's been doing so far. So I've been love watching him hit so far. It's been great.
Yeah.
You got to be surprised that they got out of that NL, though. Like, you look at the teams around them, and they got through because of guys like him, and their pitching has been okay this playoffs. As of right now, though, I'm not sure what you think, Rick and Kaylin, but I'd be worried going into the next few games here. I think if they would have got that win there last night, they really could have sealed the deal and probably won that series. Now you got 2-2 going back to Houston. It's going to be a tough way for them to win there
against a team that's been there before, like that has had adversity, not just on the field but off the field over the last few years and been able to battle back through it. And this is just one more time that Houston has been able to battle back. I mean, surprisingly, first it was, I made the joke, who the hell are these Phillies? But at the same time, it's like, it's crazy to see that the Astros can just continue to come back over and over again. And, there's not really, I'm jumping ahead here, but there's not really a sign in sight here where this team is going to slow down in the near future. This is going to be a juggernaut for some time, just as they have been. This is going to be the new Yankees team, and the Yankees are going to have to do what they always have to do, and that's, dip into the free agent pool with a lot of money. Houston can compete. They can do that, and they can get their homegrown talent too. They can get it through the ranks. So this is a team that it sucks that it's Houston that they just cheat. They keep winning, but good for them.
The homegrown talent, though, to touch on that, because with the guy that threw the no-hitter for the majority of the game yesterday, Javier. Good point made. Like, we live in a world right now where guys throw 98, 99 easy all the time. Every pitcher, pretty much, if you're an ace, you're throwing close to 100. And his average yesterday was 94. It just shows that a good placed fastball, can still, be effective. It doesn't have to be 100 miles an hour if it's put in the right spot. So very impressive. And talking about homegrown talent, they lost Carlos Correa. That was supposed to be a big hit to them. And they put in Jeremy Pena, and this guy's been pretty much an all-star. The guy has hit so well, and he's the guy you got at the beginning of the show that was like a free pack, and you had to use him for like the first few games, and he ended up being amazing.
You talk about losing Carlos Correa, and then you come back and you go, well, they lost Alex Cora like 3 fucking years ago off the heels of being, this team that was in the bad news in the media kind of thing.
AJ Hinch was their coach. Cora was the assistant.
So, but they lost a big
Dusty Baker just came in and fucking cleaned up, boys.
That's what I mean, exactly. And this team just continues to chug. So good for them.
And Dusty Baker, shout out Dusty Baker. Like, he's the most wins ever for a guy that not have a World Series. He's been there. He's had a chance a few different times. I remember back in the day when he was the Barry Bonds, they were there, and he had his son as a bat boy. And, I remember the fact that, you call in this guy and, he's just kind of weathered the storm for them. So I want him to win, but I really want the Phillies to win. I really like the story that's going here. Tonight's a huge game. If they don't win tonight, they're done. They have to win tonight, really. And you know what? You would say normally they're facing a pitcher tonight that you wouldn't want to face. But if you look at his World Series stats, there ain't going to be no hitter tonight because Justin Verlander's pitching. And if you guys don't know, he is 0-8 in World Series starts in his career.
Wow.
That's crazy.
I would have never drawn that connection, honestly. Not that I've followed his career like a lot, but I would never think that he'd be 0-8.
That's over 5 World Series, boys, okay? And he has started 8 games. He has, in 5 respective World Series, a 5 ERA, 11 ERA, 4 ERA, 6 ERA, and 9 this year with an average of 6 ERA. No wins in all his World Series. So it's kind of like Kirk Cousins when we talk about it. It's not just a coincidence anymore. This guy doesn't pitch well in the World Series for some reason. And these are all mostly almost Cy Young years that he's not pitching well. Is your reference to
Kirk Cousins there, how he doesn't play well on Monday Night Football?
Yeah, that's what
That's awesome.
There's comes a point in time where you can't just say it's coincidence anymore. So does he right the ship tonight? I don't think so. He's old. Yeah. And, it's the end of the year. He's pitched a lot of innings. And, these guys already know his stuff. It's not like he's going to switch. The guy's 40 years old. He throws what he throws. They hit him last game. So I expect the Phillies to get on top of Verlander tonight, which is weird to say, but I really do. And, I expect the Phillies to win tonight, and I expect this to go 7 games. And it's I hope it does because, it's a lot of times the World Series don't live up to the expectations because, the two differences of the leagues. But this one's been great, and the playoffs in general have been great. So I go Phillies.
Well, it's the first playoffs. Well, I shouldn't say that because Houston's still in the fucking final. But it's, the first playoffs mostly where there was a little bit of parity, right? There was series that were going
and this is a team that was struggling halfway through the year.
Yeah.
They weren't even close to a playoff spot. They really had to turn it on in the last, 50, 60 games to get in. And they still got in with 10 games above 500.
Well, you had two teams. We talked about Philly earlier that was first time after 20 years or close to 20. Maybe I'm exaggerating there with the Phillies, but Seattle making it after 20 years. I mean, that was pretty crazy for them too. So it's nice to see that. And they're both. I mean, I shouldn't say Philly, but Seattle's a team that's going to return. They're not going to go anywhere. I mean, they finished with the same record the year before, so we know they're going to come back just as hard. I think this year. This I really don't know. Is this the swan song for Philly? Can they really continue this next season, or was this just the Cinderella story?
I think so. They got a good lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They really do. Schwarber and Harper alone. You get those two guys in the middle. You're good. And it's not like they don't have them for a while still. That's a good core no matter what. And their pitching is solid. Nola has been shit, and he pitched really well this year. I expect tonight as well. If you look at the Astros side, Altuve is a 300 hitter. He's got 2 hits in the playoffs. And like Yordan Alvarez, other than his walk-off home run, he has done absolutely nothing. This team is surviving off of guys like Kyle Tucker and Jeremy Pena, and guys that you don't expect to be carrying the load, and they're still there. And it's because their pitching is so fantastic. But you got to expect that those guys are going to wake up eventually too. But I don't know. Ever since the buzzer went away, Altuve's had a hard time in the playoffs. So
You stop with the whacking
you
of
wear
the
a wire
trash can.
boy.
You got to think.
But the Phillies, I mean, they only finished like 10, 12 games above 500 in a weak NL conference, right? I mean, they're pretty top heavy over there. This is why I ask, like, is this a team that's sitting on their swan song that's going to be that limping 7th or 8th seed type team every single season and hope to be a Cinderella story? Or is this a team that can start to build something a little bit, maybe some momentum on the other half or the last quarter, I should say, of Bryce Harper's career here? But can they?
I believe they will continue to be a good team, man. I think them being as bad as they was a bit of a fluke, to be honest with me, this year. I think the team was better than what they performed.
They've invested. I mean, they're not a team that hasn't tried to buy players, right? They've certainly tried to do that. Injuries have bit them in the wrong way. They just had the wrong bats haven't connected. You've mentioned it right now. Their bats are carrying them when their pitching is supposed to be one of their stronger suits that was in the playoffs or coming into the playoffs that hasn't been doing.
It's kind of flipped for both teams. It's been weird.
Yeah. So it has been a super entertaining playoff series, regardless, nonetheless. And I hate saying that about Houston, that it's a team that's just going to be around forever. But God, are they ever fun to watch? It doesn't matter.
What do you say,
John? Well, I really do think, going off of Kaylin's question about will the Phillies be able to continue, I think they will. Like, when you make a World Series, you make enough noise where free agents want to come play for you now. That's what happens. In any sport, you make a championship, there's guys that want to come play for you. There is, because they think it's a way of success. And whether or not they get those guys, I think they can. I think any team in baseball can get guys, really.
They have a good core already. All you're looking for really is another starting pitcher and another impact player, and you're right there. And look at, like Aaron Judge, it sounds good, ain't going back to the Yankees. And why? Because he had a shit playoffs. So you know what? Like, that's another guy, right? If he had a good playoffs and the Yankees would have been in the World Series right now, they would have been talking about an extension right fucking now. Yeah. And now instead, they're talking about fucking getting rid of him because he did fuck all in the playoffs. And, the Steinbrenner's, they don't have time for nothing. You could give them fucking you can give them your heart, you give them your left leg. They don't give a fuck. If you don't hit the playoffs, you're out of here.
Yeah, I'm not willing to write off Judge, that yet, only because Rick, like you've talked about it.
I'm not writing him off.
Yeah, I'm not writing him off. I'm talking about writing him off.
I'm just saying the view on him right now is not good. No one cares that he hit 63 home runs or whatever it was.
Yeah,
they don't care.
Yeah,
they care that he didn't do fucking nothing in the playoffs.
Yeah, but I know, I get you there. But the big problem is that the next story is, you're right. Nobody's going to care that he didn't hit the 60 home runs,
except for the team that gives him a max contract.
That this is going to be the story, right? It doesn't matter that people are going to say he didn't hit any home runs in the playoffs. They're going to say, but he's a $400 million man now. That's all that's going to matter in the grand scheme of things, right?
To him, yeah. And to the team that signs it. But to the Yankees, no. The Yankees aren't giving up that money right now because you did nothing in the playoffs for them. So in a year, the Yankees should be in the World Series right now.
So that leads me to my next question then is, he's a $400 million man. There is a pool of teams that can, one, afford that type of player, and two, be entertaining enough for Judge to want to go and play for them. This isn't a guy that's going to want to go and play on a bottom feeder team by any means. Where do you think he lands? Like, what team do you think?
He'll go to San Diego. Fuck.
To the Angels?
San Diego.
Oh, San Diego. Yeah.
Or watch them, or some sort of trade and sign for fucking like Ohtani and Judge or something like that. They love those Japanese guys in New York. So
you know what, that is true. You're not wrong about that. But that is something that I would say, this is a team that, man, as much as that team is looking to be sold, I think, in the near future here, as far as the Angels go, this is a team that if they really wanted to compete, one, in their division, right? But two, as far as being like the star power, they've already got Trout, they've already got Ohtani, right? Adding that third piece, I know they've got outfielders there that can play, but now you don't have to worry about cycling in Ohtani into the outfield. You can keep him as a pitcher and focus on the rotation. I know that's kind of a shitty thing to do because the guy's going to bat 24 home runs in a season. Why would you want to take him off? Make him a DH maybe if he's not pitching, kind of thing, right? So I think that might be an option where a team that lost some wind here, right, could make a splash. Or another team that I think could make a splash that just lost an outfielder that had to trade away a young player, Washington. This is a team that was willing to pay $450 fucking million to a player. He just said no, right? So this is a team that could certainly line up the stars. They need an outfielder. They need a star presence. They've also invested in some players in the recent past and haven't panned out, unfortunately. But he could certainly fit in that team. I think that's a great project.
Well, and, I would say, because you know what? Like, it hasn't worked with Trout and Ohtani at all, which is ridiculous. The fact that they've only been to playoffs once under Mike Trout is disgusting.
Yeah.
So, where is Aaron Judge from? He's from California. Okay, so, I could see him going to the Angels, and somehow we end up with, a swap with Ohtani. Because, Ohtani's going to the fucking Yankees. It's happening. The Yankees see a shiny toy, and they go get it.
If he's not the Yankees, he's going to be in the AL East. I do think that. I think there's going to be some team, there's a sneaky part of me. There's a real sneaky...
I saw a fluke thing, right? To going to the Jays today?
Yeah, with the whole Bo Bichette thing. I saw that troll trade. But, I saw it last night at like midnight, right? And I had already, done a few of my endeavors that I do in the evening. And I got to thinking, that's not actually that bad of a trade or a deal. Like,
no, it's not.
It really doesn't. It isn't that bad of an option for both teams. I mean, this is still your biggest trade bait is going to be Bo Bichette, right? And if you can get somebody who rounds out your rotation and is going to give you 25 homers in a season and be in the outfield in case Springer gets dinged up like he always does, this is a solution, right?
Anybody would take Ohtani. I don't care who you are. You would take him for anything. He's the most dynamic player ever.
The only worry there is that with that trade is not only giving up Bo Bichette and whatever was else that was listed, and there was it
was Kirk and two other prospects.
Yeah, it was small stuff. Kirk was a big one, but what the next thing is that this is going to be a guy that's going to get X amount of dollars, right? We're not talking $400 million, and I don't know if that's
you see the stadium that's getting installed next year. I'm pretty sure we got the dough, baby.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. Hopefully you got the dough for it because you got some
next
contracts
level, man. Next level.
Yeah, you got some contracts coming up. They're going to need to get paid, right? So
all the Rogers bills are paying for Ohtani.
Rogers will open up the wallet, baby. Don't worry about
it. Yeah.
Well, let's move along. We'll move along to our next sport here that we got going on because we got everything. This is the best time of the year if you're a sports fan. We know that. Because we got all four sports at the same time, and we got the World Cup coming up in a couple weeks. So it's pretty awesome. So we'll talk about hockey next, right? Because we haven't been able to cover hockey yet on After Further Review since it started. And, obviously Kaylin can wear his jersey for once in his life, which is fantastic. And, we'll start there because, usually we start with the Canadian teams, but we got to start with what are you number one in the NHL right now?
I think we're number two as far as wins go. Which is awesome. I mean, nobody. This at some point the spark was going to have to light in New Jersey. They've had enough number one round picks or number overall picks. They've been able to get some good trades in the offseason. I really love what Tom Fitzgerald has done with the defense. People like to talk about our core forwards right now with Hughes and Heischer and Bratt. And Jesper Bratt is like the second in the league in points. I mean, who the hell, Ricky? I think I played a game with you last year. I was using the Devils. You said something to the effect of, who the hell is Jesper Bratt? I mean, I don't know if it was you or if it was Tucky that I was playing with.
I knew he was, but I wasn't expecting to score 8 goals with him.
Yeah, and then the guys who got 10-point streak to start the season, so 10 straight the first 10 games of the season. That's awesome. But the back half is secured up on defensive side. We're the number one analytical team offensively and defensively, so this is awesome.
So I haven't really watched any Jersey games. So have you watched what's going on? Is this real? What are they doing to make this possible? Because I keep seeing the ticker. I keep seeing it's consistent, and without really the greatest goaltending as far as I'm concerned. So
we're only just hitting the 900s goaltending. We are currently averaging 38 shots a game. So that's over 10 games, right? So I think we had one game that was below 30 shots. And as far as shots against, we haven't had anybody do more than 23 in a game against us. And we're averaging on average 16 outshooting our opponent by 16 shots. So we're all over them. We're swarming. Lindy Ruff has done this. Every team that he's gone to, he's created an offensive scheme. There has certainly been some questions about how his defensive scheme comes together. I think that we have the speed on defense that wherever was lacking in his scheme certainly is not a problem anymore this season. You got Jack Hughes is coming into his now 4th season. It's time for that to start to click a little bit. The big thing I think is that, Jesper Bratt. This guy's averaging 1.62 points a game. You got a guy that's pushing the offense as much as he is, that's getting 18 or 19 minutes a game, that can drive the puck, that we don't have to worry about zone entries. We still do this weird, I know that a lot of teams are doing this slingshot power play entry where they drop it back to the forward who's coming around the back half of the goal, and then he kind of zips up into the net or into the blue line. I'm not a big fan of it. That's where Jesper actually he's kind of making.
You gotta have the players for it. If you have the players, the personnel to do that, then it will work.
That's right. And unfortunately, before, as much as I love Hughes and he's got some good entries, this is what I've learned in the last 4 years of watching hockey that the Devils didn't have, and one of the biggest reasons we lost so many games, we couldn't enter a zone. Like, we could not, and it was not just dump and chase anymore. You couldn't do that anymore because you were going to get outpaced by the defensemen most of the time. These defensemen are fast enough, but you have to be able to hold on to the puck. You can't just be constantly giving it up and hoping that somebody's going to crunch somebody against the boards and get the puck in the offensive zone. So now we can actually enter the zone. We can contain the puck while we're in there. We're making teams tired. Man, we're out, like I said, 38 shots a game. Like, this is not just, I think there was like 4 straight games we had over 40 shots. That we made this joke when the fans were chanting, fire Lindy after game number 2. That no, we were saying we want 50, we wanted 50 shots because that's what we're getting close to all the time. Lindy's turned things around. It's got to be tough for him.
Which is crazy because Lindy Ruff isn't known as an offensive coach.
Well, he's had some schemes that have been okay. It's just his defense is really
but I'm talking about, you go back to his Buffalo days, where he was winning with like 15 shots a game. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's pretty impressive that he stuck around because I always liked Lindy Ruff. He's a solid coach. But I thought maybe you guys were doing so well just because you guys implemented the 2-line pass in New Jersey again. And maybe that's why you started playing good again.
We haven't used the trap since 2004. What are you talking about? This guy.
Well, that's why you were so good in the 90s, right? Because you couldn't pass over 2 lines. So I thought maybe that's what was going on. But it's nice to see that the Devils are off to a hot start for you. I love it. My team will switch over just quickly to Montreal. This is a year I expect nothing really at all. Based on what happened last year. St. Louis has continued his great influence that he had last year, halfway through the year.
Before you skip off of St. Louis, though, did you see that picture recently of him sitting down and he was in shorts? That man's quads. He's still working out with the team or what? He's like the Vrabel of hockey.
Still play. He could probably still play.
Yeah, he could play.
But he's great influence. The guys are playing hot under him. I don't expect to make the playoffs this year, but I expect to be competitive. And without Carey Price, Jake Allen has played really well so far this year. Our top line, 2 young guys, Suzuki and Caulfield. I love how we gave Caulfield Suzuki a captaincy. I love the way Caulfield plays under St. Louis. I love how many opportunities he gets. I love his shot. Like, this guy, I expect 40 goals from him, if not this year, next year. Our defense has a lot of young dudes back there. They're all playing solid. Caden Gooley's been awesome. They call him Wi-Fi, Jack Guy, because, he said, you look at his name.
He does everything. He's not afraid to get in people's face.
Shoot. He's a good player. We got Edmonton back tonight, which is awesome. I really liked our vibe that we have going so far. So, it's great to see the Canadians at least being competitive in every game. It's been fun to watch. Who's your team, Josh? Are you a Leafs fan?
I'm a Leafs fan. So
that's where we're going next. We're going to talk about the struggles of the Leafs until Captain Tavares pulled them out of it last night.
I do have a quick question about your Canadians there. What are your thoughts on Slav? You liking Slav so far?
Hey, you know what? I'll talk about him quick. I've watched him play. I love him.
Yeah.
This guy is supposed to be, a lot of times when you have an offensive rookie, especially a number 1 overall pick,
who's 18,
come in, you expect them to score immediately. You expect them to put in the puck in the net. And he's not really doing that a lot, but he is finding ways to be valuable other ways, which is so impressive for a young guy that's 18 years old. This guy is skating his ass off. He's blocking passes. He's blocking shots. He's hitting along the boards. He's not shying away from contact in the corner. He's not shying away from making a move with the puck instead of getting all antsy and just dumping it in or fucking up, because a lot of young guys do that. He's taking his chances when when it's valid to do so. And he's working really hard. And I really like, they were undecided if he was going to stay with the team, but he belongs. His body belongs there. I'm really impressed with him. I know the goals will come. He had a beauty the other night.
Yeah.
The goals will come, but the fact that he's finding ways to be valuable other than being a scorer is, making me really love him even more already so far. So
I was talking to
a lot of young guys.
I was talking
that
to
are
a
looking great
Canadians
for
friend, and
Montreal.
I was asking him, and he kind of echoed a lot of the same things that you said. And then one of the things that he said that he's most excited for is that he's got a coach. I want to come back to St. Louis again, who was known to be that small guy who was able to use that leverage that he was able to find and hold on to the puck and was able to find ways to score. Now we've got a guy who, he's going to be teaching who's 6'4", 240 pounds at 18 years old, and he's going to be teaching him about leverage. Can you imagine what a kid at that age is going to learn about how to use his body effectively in the corners or in zone entry or fighting for it in front of the net? This kid's going to be a force, right? So it's scary. It's good for you guys. I think when he met my buddy mentioned
St. Louis is
that
awesome, man.
connection,
I
thought it
love
was a
he
great
doesn't.
idea.
St. Louis doesn't get mad. He doesn't get frustrated. And even like today when I was watching with Jen and they asked him about, like, you guys have been good so far. What did he say, baby? He said something along the lines of,
He said, "Good is the mortal enemy of great."
yeah, like good is the moral enemy of great. We don't want to be good. Like we want to be great. So like don't praise us for being good. Like it's great that we're making progress, but we don't want to just be good. We want to be great. And like we're not settling for anything. We can beat anybody. And on any night, we're getting lots of shots like New Jersey. You got to give yourself an opportunity by shooting. Yeah. And that's one of Toronto's biggest fucking problems, which we'll get to next, because they don't fucking shoot it.
Main problem right there.
Shoot. You never know what's going to happen, man. Goals go in crazily all the time. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just because you have a ton of guys that make a lot of money, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just fucking get it on net. Give yourself an opportunity, and you never know what'll happen. But yeah, Montreal, it's been good so far. We got another game tonight, so been watching the Habs eagerly, and we'll switch over to the Leafs and talk about
and
how they've looked
I'll
so
let
far.
you talk about in there, Josh. You mentioned there first, Rick, about the shots. I did want to touch the last night's game. That was what they needed to be doing. They had 40 plus shots last night. What I thought that was really cool coming into the game was that Tortorella stuck up for Sheldon Keefe on the other side, saying you guys have no idea how important and how far he has brought that program. Mind you, Keefe used to play for Tortorella back in the day, so they certainly have a connection there. I don't want to blindside anybody thinking that they just kiss and ass for no reason. But big win last night against a team that is overachieving in Philadelphia. But you did what Ricky said you should do. Just shoot the friggin' puck, especially the captain. The captain finally led his team. So what happened last night, Josh?
Well, it was just a good all-around game. They had all their lines playing well. John Tavares did what last year. He was kind of, not the biggest scorer on the team, but I think he leads the team in goals this year, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure he does.
After last night.
Oh, definitely after last night. But it's like everyone's like, Matthews off to a cold start. He's really not off to a cold start. I would just say the team in general is just, there's lots of games they're almost in every game that they either blow it or they just play bad hockey. Like there's no recipe for it. And I was talking to my grandfather today. He's like, they're just missing something. And I couldn't agree more. They're just missing something. They have good players. Yeah, that could be it too. He was probably one of the driving forces in that playoff room last year. It's just they're just missing something that you almost can't put on it, because it's like they have good players. It's just like on defense, you look at a guy like Rasmus Sandin, that's a young defenseman up and coming. Like they have good young players. It's just I don't know what they're gonna do. That's the main thing. I just don't know. And this is their window. You get your window every so often in hockey, and this is their window.
Oh, they got it. They got to win this year.
Well, I mean, my big thing with them is they go out and they sign Matt Murray to not a much smaller deal than Jack Campbell got over in Edmonton, thinking that he was going to be the answer as the 1A or 1B.
And now he's playing for somebody else.
Along with Samsonov. Yeah, I mean, now, that's saying Jack Campbell's somewhere else, and now you got Matt Murray who's injured, who's not even playing.
Yeah.
Matt Murray's just playing for somebody else too. Did they not get rid of him already?
No, he's injured.
No, he's hurt. He's hurt right now.
He's been injured. He's on the IR, and that's why he hasn't been playing. And that's why they got this other guy, Calgren, who's been playing. And this is the problem: is Samsonov, the guy's got a 920 save. Like he's playing his friggin' heart out right now when he does play. But you got Calgren, who's got an 875, and really, I think that's. There was one game that bumped up his stats a lot right there, because there was one game that was absolutely god awful. So that there is no, unfortunately, their 1A 1B tandem is not going to work out. I thought that it was a lot to ask to lean on a guy like Matt Murray, who's been oft injured as it was, and here we are yet again, another injury. Who knows how long he'll be out for? But is it going to be long enough that it stings the Leafs? I don't know, man. They got to stretch. They got to play the Devils here in less than 2 weeks.
If you're relying on Matt fucking Murray to be the one that your season goes wrong or not, when you're paying three guys over $10 fucking million a year, you got got an issue, okay? Matt
It's a
Murray
bad issue.
is not the fucking problem. The goaltending is not the problem. It wasn't the problem last year. Okay, Jack Campbell played really well in the playoffs.
He
Bottom
played
line,
really
they
well.
they got beat. Okay, they got beat. And it's because guys like Mitch Marner don't show up in the playoffs when it comes to putting the puck
And
in the
Martin
net.
hasn't shown up this the last 2 weeks. The guy's had his head in his ass the last like 4 or 5 games that they've played, especially.
And Tavares, hey, I hope he doesn't blow his load too early this year because you know what? Last night, why did he score? Because I've been saying for a year, 2 years, move your fucking feet. The guy doesn't move his feet enough, and last night that goal he scored was absolutely beautiful and reminded me of the way he used to look when he played for the Islanders.
Yeah.
We're not talking about a guy that's 38 years old. He's like what, 32? Like 33 years old. He's not like old. He still has a couple years of prime, and he moved his feet last night and believed in his
35,
talent.
Rick. I think he might be 30. I have to look this up, but I think he's.
Oh, he can't be 35 yet. There's no way. Okay, well, you look it up while I talk because you know what? I watched him last night, and he actually trusted his talent. I feel like because he plays behind Austin Matthews,
32.
I feel like he doesn't trust his talent because he doesn't have the same talent that Austin Matthews has. He doesn't have the same toe drag, snipe fucking ability that he has. But what he does have is he has strong legs. He's got great protectability of the puck. He's got a great nose for the net. He always has had. And he has a body. Move your feet. Don't think you can just coast around because you can't. You aren't the guy that has that ability, but you have a ton of ability. I love John Tavares when I was younger, but since he's been on the Leafs, yeah, he scores and whatnot, but he doesn't look like the guy that he should be when he's making as much money as he has. And last night, he fucking did. So it's nice to see him do that because if they have that 1-2 punch going, then they're dangerous. And, you know, there's other guys, too, like Bunting's off to a slow start. We knew he wasn't going to have as good of a year as he had last year. Losing Spezza and even, you know, like just there's guys down the list where I look at this team where it's like, do you ever want Pierre Engvall on the ice? Like, this guy just bothers the hell out of me. Watching him skate, he looks like he's a top corner hockey figurine. Like and Jake Muzzin, like, God, he is on the back nine, definitely.
Yeah.
And, you know, just guys like Clifford and Aston Reeves, look at this, like, this team's in trouble, man.
I don't think he's even going to play for the rest of the year. His career might be over at this point.
Yeah, and then you got Justin Hall.
Muzzin played last night.
Did he play last night?
No.
Yeah.
No,
he did. Are you sure he's on the IR?
I know he was hurt.
Oh, no, he didn't play last night. No, I'm sorry.
But, you know, they got some relief. They got about $5.5 million relief as a result of that. But like even when he played this season, like you're right, he was out to lunch, and he's got concussion and neck injuries. So I'd be surprised. And
Morgan Riley doesn't even have a goal yet this year either. That's alarming. Yeah. Morgan Riley should have a goal on the power play by now for sure. And the bottom half of this team sucks balls. You know, I'm just going to say it is. And if this top six doesn't perform the way they're paid, you know, goaltending is the last of your fucking worries if they don't score. So
I'm really surprised
it is
that
a pressure
Simmons
cooker.
has stuck around. I know that he is a hometown guy and he likes to put the fists up for his team, but like, man, I cannot believe this guy is still cracking an NHL lineup at this point.
He can't even skate.
Yeah.
Like, so there's a lot of problems in Toronto, but they got a lot of great players there. They should be able to turn it around. You know, last night was an example, but shoot the puck, man. Just shoot the puck. You know, you never know what's going to happen. So, you know, it's always trouble
really
in Toronto.
Good too.
Yeah,
I think it's a really good division. You got teams like I was talking about it today. Buffalo, Ottawa, Montreal, and Detroit are actually scarier teams on paper than people think. Yeah,
7-3.
They have young, really good players that are now playing better hockey because they've been in the league for a few years. So they're able to play teams tough and able to get wins. The Leafs might not even make the playoffs. That's the main thing because then you still have Florida, Tampa.
Well, Florida's in fifth place. That's what's crazy about the standings right now. Florida's not in a playoff spot. If you go down the other divisions, Washington, Pittsburgh are not in a playoff spot. You know, look at St. Louis is not in a playoff spot. Predators aren't in a playoff spot. The fucking Avalanche aren't in a playoff spot right now. Like, you know, you go down the list, there's a lot of good teams. But you know what, boys? It's only 10 games in, and, you know, you can't overreact because that's what happens if you're a Toronto fan.
Yeah. that's what happens. And now I'm worried that Detroit's going to beat us out of a playoff spot because they might. They have a good team, so.
Well, you got to trust your talent. You got to trust your high shooters. You know what I mean, and that it will work out over time. Because you know Detroit, I still think is a year away from being relevant at all. They did this last year too.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure Toronto will make the playoffs. They just got to win a fucking playoff series. I really believe if they could do that, then a lot of monkeys are going to come off the back. And if not, then Kyle Dubas and Brendan Shanahan are going to have a tough time at the end of this year because they'll be both fired.
Yeah.
So, but we'll talk about the other Canadian teams because we got some other stuff to talk about. We got to talk about the West out here. They both started really hot. Little hiccups here and there, but the bottom line, the Flames definitely look better than they did last year. Nazem Kadri is finally getting pretty much the number one role, and he is rolling with it. This guy's putting the puck in all over the place. He's skating his ass off. All the new guys they brought in have been playing well. Huberdeau's stalling a bit when it comes to scoring, but he's still playing well. So it's been fun to watch the Flames so far, and fun to watch the Battle of Alberta because they've both been really good games. So it's been fun to watch.
And it's not like with them revamping their roster, revamping their team so quickly. I mean, this team is just primed for an arena. Rick, do you have an update on that? Because I know there was some mention about arena talk in the last 2 weeks potentially. Maybe keeping them there in the same place and renovating it more, or actually, there was maybe a deal in place now. What's going on? Anywhere it's head steam?
Well, there's more progress than there has been in the past year because they're actually reopening the idea of it, and it's going to happen. It has to happen. Like the concrete's falling off the fucking building, and you know what? After the concert next week, when I go see motherfucking Bryan Adams, more concrete's going to be falling off that building. So you know what I mean? Going to the Dome next weekend or next week for Bryan Adams. Been wanting to see him my whole life. It's going to be awesome. I saw the Arkells at the Dome last Friday. Just incredible. It's my 15th time seeing them, and it gets better every single time. So the concrete will be falling off the building even more. It's going to happen. It has to happen. But you know what pisses me off? So they're talking about another Olympic bid here in Calgary. When it's like, hello, that could be what gets us the stadium if we do actually do it. But a lot of people in Calgary don't want the Olympics here. I obviously would love it. I'm not a Calgarian. I'm Ontarian. But when it comes down to it, we want the Olympics, and if we do, then we get the stadium for sure. But it can't be much longer. We got to get the stadium. But Sutter's got the boys playing well. They're playing hard. There's a really nice vibe in the town for the Flames right now. So I think it's going to continue. Like you say, a couple hiccups here and there, but if Markstrom could actually play like a $10 million goaltender, then they would probably be 8-0. But
yeah. And then Edmonton, who's playing New Jersey tonight. Jesus, Connor McDavid, I think he's got 11 points in the last 4 games or 3 games or something like that, right?
He's so retarded.
Yeah.
So good to watch. The guy just whether you like him, love him or hate him, don't matter. He's absolutely fantastic. Like when he leaves Edmonton, it's going to be a sad day because it's coming. Because they have a very similar problem that the Leafs have. They're very top heavy. The lineup really thins out when you get to the third and the fourth lines. And Jack Campbell's been absolutely god awful since he's went there. So it just shows.
So Rick, you mentioned that he's leaving. I gotta think that the top of your list of where he is probably going to end up, even though
he's going to LA. Come on.
What's that?
Said he's going to LA. Come on.
Oh, LA. Okay. Even though in that spiel you mentioned that Toronto, they're going through the same things that Toronto's going through. I gotta think that at the very top of your list has got to be Connor McDavid going to Toronto when he has the opportunity. Is that what you think is going to line up?
No. Do you think he wants to go from Edmonton to Toronto?
So hear me out on this one. There was a coach who is currently unemployed who is very popular amongst the players. What's that?
Oh, no, I thought you were saying Mike Babcock. He's still employed by Saskatchewan University. Sorry, I forgot.
He's very, very popular amongst the players. He's incredibly successful every time and everywhere he's been a coach. And he recently said that he has no interest in coming back outside of if it was for an original 6 team, that there would be some intrigue there. The coach I'm talking about is Barry Trotz. This guy's a fucking genius. He's a hockey god when it comes to coaching. Anything he touches that he goes to turns to gold. Now, could the Stars line up in Toronto that even if they were to lose a player like Austin Matthews to another team like Arizona or wherever else he decides to go, that Barry Trotz could come potentially swoop in, save the day in Toronto as the coach, and then Connor comes and replaces Austin over in Toronto? Before Austin, I don't think that it's going to happen that he comes to Toronto when Austin's there. The money just isn't there. It doesn't matter. 3 years from the cap just won't be high enough. It won't work out. But if Austin's gone and they lose him, This is a scenario that I've been I thought Barry Trotz Blackhawks. That was my train in motion. And then for some reason, I've been kind of getting sidetracked the last 2 days and thinking, Jesus, he's going to go to Toronto and he's going to right this ship.
That's what they said when they brought in Mike Babcock.
Well, Mike Babcock was never a player favorite outside
on.
of
Mike
Datsuk
Babcock was a
Zetterberg.
god when he got that job.
He was no, but I'm talking about a player favorite. No, the players, everybody had
We didn't
complaints
know
about
he
playing
wasn't
under
a player
him.
favorite until afterwards, man.
Datsuk was
And
the only
you know
one
what,
that
Barry
had good-
Trotz, you know what? Don't tell me Barry Trotz isn't a fucking asshole when he wants to be too. You know,
He's
it's like
good.
this guy.
He's good. He's like
That's
Torts, you know.
why he has a shelf life, and he only coaches places like 4 or 5 years at a time. Nobody's saving the
I just
Leafs. The only
don't-
people that are going to
his
save the
last-
fucking Leafs are the people on the ice.
His last time coaching, if I remember correctly, was the Islanders, right? He kind of turned that franchise on its heels to make them good again. They've kind of fallen off again.
And then ate shit and left.
But I think the reason why he left is because he's dealing a coach like that needs a little bit of rain. He had the general Lou Lamoriello up top.
He won 2 playoff series with Nashville pretty much in his whole career, and he won a cup with Ovechkin, who was long overdue. Okay, I'm not saying Barry Trotz isn't a good coach, but he ain't. Like I said, nobody's saving the Leafs except for the fucking Leafs. They have the talent in that room to play well enough to win. Okay, and it's up to them. No coach is going to change that. And if you bring in Barry Trotz, you think his style fits the Leafs?
I think it could.
Not a
Again, we're
fucking
talking a
chance.
couple years from now, or maybe a year.
Oh,
from
what?
now.
His style's going
Maybe
to
at the
change
end
when
of
he's
the year.
72 years old, or what?
Who knows? I don't think I think Barry Trotz. I think this scenario plays a good potential. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, good potential. There's always good potential for the Leafs. You know,
Always. I know all about it.
But hey, I always root hard for the Leafs. You know, I always say I'm a Montreal fan that doesn't hate the Leafs. I do like to make fun of them when they lose to the Montreal Canadiens. But other than that, I would love to see the Leafs finally get it together. But it doesn't look so good this year so far. So they better get the defensive problems under control because it looks really bad back there. But shoot the puck more. We do want to talk about the Senators real quick because I never talk about the Senators, but because I can't stand them. They're like the bastard child of Canada. But, when it comes down to it, the Senators are playing really good hockey. All their young guys, and that's without Josh Norris. He's out. And breaking news today, apparently Ryan Reynolds wants to buy the Ottawa Senators. So.
Yeah.
No, you say they're playing good hockey. It's funny that you say that because they're still the second last team in the entire conference, right, at 4-5. But I see what you're saying because you're right. There have been some games that they should have won. Unfortunately, it's the Sens being the friggin' Sens, the goalie letting up some bad plays, or the defensive just having some complete lapses.
They're still only 4 points behind Toronto after 10 games.
Well,
so,
okay, I'm going to come back to that. This is something else that I absolutely hate hearing from Leaf fans is that, well, Tampa's struggling and this team is struggling, and we stick a couple of wins and we're going to be back in there. Well, any of those teams that are struggling that could get those couple of wins as well, and if you don't, they take off, right? So it could happen to you the other way around. But I'm saying, Rick, you are right. Ottawa
confidence
is
the other
fun
way,
to-
you would have missed completely.
What's that?
Confidence the other way, you would have missed completely.
That's right. Yeah, and if my uncle or my aunt had nuts, she'd be my uncle, right? But no, but Ottawa is fun to watch. But here's the thing: I watched a certain player in Philadelphia, in Claude Giroux. I love him as a player, but there was always something about that guy in Philly that rubbed me the wrong way. That I felt that he was doing something wrong as a leader there, and I know he was.
There's
brought
a
to
French
Ottawa
guy
to
playing
be
for
that
Philly.
person. What's that?
There's a Frenchman playing for Philadelphia. Maybe that was the
That could be it. That could be it. But that being said, I mean, I know that his namesake was brought there to be that guy. There's something about watching him on the ice in Ottawa that I'm getting the same vibes that I got in Philly. Of course, the Tiger doesn't change his stripes. I just don't think that he's it. There's something about this guy.
I've never liked him.
Wait, what's
I've
that?
never really liked the guy. He's a good hockey player, but anytime he was mentioned for Team Canada over the years, I was like, really? Watch the guy play. He's a good player, but there's other options that are better. But hey, he's right where he should be, right where he belongs in the shithole of fucking Ottawa, fucking Canadian Tire Center. Maybe Ryan Reynolds will buy them and actually give them an arena where people actually give a fuck and they're not just there for a Canadian Tire coupon. But you know what? Like when it comes down to it, I'm not a big fan of Ottawa, but I am a fan of a couple of their young guys. Drake Batherson, I've liked him since World Juniors. He's playing fucking awesome for them. Tim Stutzel, Toaster Strudel, love him. He's playing really good. And, that Pinto guy comes out of nowhere. He scored like five games in a row. So cool to see some young guys playing well for them. But the Ryan Reynolds thing caught my eye more than Deadpool's going to buy the Ottawa Senators.
Well,
and he'll change them to Ottawa Deadpools.
I said it to my friends, it would quickly rise to the top of my Canadian hockey teams that I think I would cheer for. No doubt.
Yeah, the Ottawa Deadpools. They'll change it. Guaranteed.
Deadpools.
The Ottawa Red Black Rough Rider Deadpools.
The red,
And
yeah, red black Deadpools.
Deadpools.
Yeah. So yeah, other than that, we'll kind of move on from hockey. There are the struggling teams, but like I said, it's only 10 games in. Vancouver, thank God they finally won a game because that was getting real painful, whether you're a Canucks fan or not.
They
But you know,
after catching another L from the Devils, baby.
yeah, exactly. You know, the battle of the brothers there. So
Yeah.
you know, pretty cool. Hockey's been really entertaining so far, whether your team's doing well or not. But I'll move on because we got lots of other cover still in our last 15 minutes here. What did we touch? We're touching on we're going basketball next.
Yeah.
Let's go basketball.
Yeah,
Raptors
well, let's
time.
talk a little bit about that. Yeah, let's talk about the Raptors. You know, watched the game last night. They set a lot of records, team records last night. Just absolutely destroyed the Spurs. 140 points without a point guard. So you know, pretty impressive. Lots of stuff going on. Christian Koloko filling in center. Looks, you know, getting more comfortable. We have like I said, mentioned before, longest wingspan in the NBA. Almost every guy on our team is over 6'8", except for Fred VanVleet. And, you know, Scotty Barnes, I think with his Subway commercials, is getting a little overconfident with himself. He's doing a little bit too much so far, but he's still playing really well. You know, without Fred VanVleet, this team is motoring last night. So, you know, what do you think, Josh? What are you watching?
Well, I've been watching a lot of Raptors basketball, and I'm actually impressed. Like, I actually said Koloko was a good pick. He might not come in right away and score a bunch of points, but he does the other things. He gets the blocks, rebounds. He actually contests shots out in space very well. Siakam's been playing. I'm not even a big Siakam fan, but he's been putting up the numbers that we
2
want
triple
him to
doubles
put
this
up
year
and how
already.
we're paying him. Yeah, how we're paying him is what we want him to do, and that's been great. And even Gary Trent, like the Raptors, what I think they're missing is that catch and shooter. But Trent's been shooting very well. If we can add one guy like that to come off the bench and just shoot as well, I don't know. This team's doing pretty well and going to give the East a go. They've played against some good competition too and made it look like the first time we played the Sixers this season was
the Cavs. The Cavs are rolling right now. We play the Cavs really, really well. So I'm super impressed. I'm super impressed with them. You know, you mentioned Gary Trent. What a steal for Gary Trent. You know, like this guy is young. He's just growing, you know, and he's getting more confident. His shot is great. He's driving the lane. It's super cool, like that he worked out because we traded him for Norm Powell. Pretty much. So, you know, again, I love Norm Powell, but he's better than Norm Powell was ever going to be because where's Norm Powell now? You know, and, you know, Christian Koloko, like you said, yeah, he's getting more confident down low. And how about Princess Achua? This guy, you know, he almost broke the record for most rebounds in a game for Toronto Raptors, and that wasn't even as a starter. So, you know, lots of cool things going on in Toronto. Nick Nurse, I credit to him all the time. This guy's the real deal. You know, I know he kind of was handed a championship roster in a way with Kawhi when he got it, but you know what? Dwayne Casey, you know, never got it done. And, you know, his first year with look at Kawhi since he's left Toronto. The guy's glass house. He can't even fucking stay on the court for fucking one game. You know, and Toronto kept him healthy the whole year. Load management, love it or hate it. We did it beautifully. We have the best doctors in the world, right, pretty much in Toronto, and they made sure he stayed healthy. And, you know, like it sucked to see Valanciunas go because he's killing it now. But you know what? We made the necessary trades to win that championship. And it was because of Nick Nurse keeping things always rolling. All the different lineups we have all the time. It's amazing what this guy does year in, year out. And, yeah, Siakam is finally, you know, like the triple-doubles, 2 triple-doubles already. He's confident. The team looks great. I'm not saying they're going to win, but, we'll give anybody a run right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, you know, tough game for your Celtics last night.
Well, hey, listen, I wanted just a few moments ago, you started talking about Leaf fans and jumping the gun 10 games in and shit. You've given anybody a run. I know you guys played the Cavs hard. I think the Cavs starting 5 is friggin' amazing. But, you know, we got a Bucks team.
I'd say we'll give anybody a run any night. I'm not saying we're going to win the world or the fucking NBA championship.
No, Celtics last night, unfortunately, weren't able to pull one out. The Bucks haven't lost a game yet. This top half of the East is already the same as last year, as it seems to be every single season, right? I really want to pivot, though. I mean, it's too early for me to talk about Celtics ball yet because I still don't know what Mazzulla is going to bring in as far as being the coach there. Ime is going to Brooklyn, it looks like. You know, breaking news.
Because that's breaking news, right?
Breaking news is we've got Kyrie Irving has been suspended for 5 games, too, minimum of 5 games. So they got
for supporting that the Holocaust never happened, because that's what I heard happened.
Poor Nash, you know, getting fired after, you know,
What a fucking dumpster fire
He
there.
comes out and says that, hopefully we get through all this together after, Kyrie's shit, and he gets canned like 24 or 48 hours later. I mean, that's garbage. But, out of the East, because we're going to talk about the Nets here in a second. The Lakers, bro. I love shitting on the Lakers as much as I possibly can. I have become a not...
God, can we save that for after though? Because I wanted that to be the finale.
Okay,
Let's just because you know me, the burnout is my favorite thing to jump on. So we'll do that at the end. But I do want to talk about the Nets. Finish that up real quick.
Yeah.
Steve Nash was given a raw deal right from the beginning. Okay, when this first happened, I remember Stephen A. Smith coming out saying he only got this job because of white privilege. Absolutely disgusting. I hope they just hire Stephen A. Smith as their fucking coach because he seems to know everything. But when it comes down to it, he was handed a raw deal. Kevin Durant, I don't know. This guy is just not right. Yeah, he scores a ton of points, but doesn't look right. Yeah. Kyrie Irving is more concerned about, propaganda. And, when it comes down to it, James Harden, he obviously, cried his way out of there again. Steve Nash, obviously, I'm not saying he's a great coach because we don't know that. Obviously, he failed miserably with this roster where it's kind of like one of those things where you need a Barry Trotz or you need a guy that knows and has experience to manage these guys, because it's not like some people may think, oh, you got 3 All-Stars, just throw them out there, let them roll. It doesn't work that way. Everyone can say Phil Jackson only won because he had Kobe and Michael Jordan. Yeah, well, they didn't win with anybody else. So when it comes down to it, you got to have a guy that can keep these personalities in checks and then respect, and it ain't fucking 6'1" Steve Nash, I tell you that, or whatever he is. Yeah. So, I feel sorry for the guy, but he got screwed there, and I hope they continue to fail underneath, your buddy. I thought he was suspended, and they're apparently going to hire him. So I don't know how that's going to work.
He's suspended by the Celtics. The NBA didn't suspend him, right? So it was the Celtics that suspended. But I don't know how that's going to play out anyway. But I do want to play a little devil's advocate there. I love Steve Nash as the player. Please do not misconstrue this when I say this. I did not like Steve Nash as the coach. You talk about getting a raw deal. He got handed a roster that was fantastic from the get-go. That should have been Kenny Anderson's off the hop. Unfortunately, it wasn't. It was given to Steve Nash. I know that you had Kyrie Irving there, who I call cancer every team that he's gone to. But you had KD. You had James Harden. You lost James Harden, which I think was a shitty deal, but that's also indicative of the coach, because how are you not able to keep a player like James Harden and the other All-Stars together? I think that's a big issue.
Well, nobody can keep James Harden happy.
I do see. Okay,
especially not a white guy. Sorry, that's just the way it is.
I get that, but that was also the story with old-time coaches, right? We had a player coach here who was on the court for many years, who had a lot of history. I just feel that he should have been able to do something a little bit more. The other big thing that I think falls on him, Anvil-wise, is the play in the playoffs. I know these guys didn't play a full season together because Kyrie only played half the games and shit, but when it got to playoff times and they got swept by the Celtics, who I know went to the finals, they didn't make a single fucking adjustment, Rick. Not one. They played the same offensive scheme that they played 2 months prior against a defensive juggernaut like the Celtics. Didn't make one change, and you got a player like Steve Nash who ran an offense. I just think there was a lot missing there as far as the coach goes, as far as Steve Nash can bring to a table, and maybe it's height. I'm saying that facetiously, but like seriously, something is lacking there. Maybe he brings it to the next team if he gets the opportunity, but I think that this was a gift that was handed to him that should have still been Kenny Anderson's from the get-go. Talk about getting a raw deal. Kenny developed the true Brooklyn Nets and the youth that was there before they decided to trade them all away to get KD, to get Kyrie, to get James Harden.
I think there's a lot of similarities between Jason Kidd and Steve Nash, right? Jason Kidd is just touted so much as being a great coach and offensive mind, but yet he hasn't done anything. He's on his 3rd team already. And it's like, just because these guys were great players doesn't mean they were going to be good coaches. Yeah. Wayne Gretzky was fucking terrible. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. That's why a lot of the times the great coaches are guys that weren't all-stars. They weren't the superstars. They were the guys that sat back and watched the play and watched the game and spent a lot of time on the bench. Those are usually the guys that are the good coaches. Just because it worked for you as a player doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody else as a player. Yeah. And I love Steve Nash, but I don't believe that his scheme and the way he wanted to coach that team was suited to the players that he had. That was not a run and gun offense, especially with Kyrie Irving not playing most of the time that he played. And how hard do you think it is to coach Kevin Durant?
Well, but at the same time, like, why does ownership, who signs off on the deal in the grand scheme of things, think that Ben Simmons was the answer. Did you see the clip the other day where Kyrie passes the ball to Ben and he has to say to him,
Pass
shoot
it
the
back,
ball,
hot
Ben.
potato.
Shoot the ball, Ben. Like
He wasn't the answer, but they were just trying to get something for Harden because Harden was going to cry and fucking get fat while he was there.
That's
So
my big problem here, right? Is like, what was Ben Simmons? What does Ben Simmons bring to the table that he didn't bring anything the previous season because
look at how good Ben Simmons was in the first couple of years of his career. Where the hell did that go?
He could never shoot the ball. That's the thing.
No, I know that, but it doesn't mean he can still did a lot of other things really good, and he still shot the ball way better than he shoots it now. Look at his points the first couple of years. It's drastic how much has changed with him. I'm not saying he was the answer, but you had to get something in return.
That's what I mean. Like, that isn't something. To me, that isn't something.
Even getting rid of Karis LeVert, like that was terrible. Karis LeVert is killing it now for Cleveland. That was a terrible trade.
Yeah.
I think they lost Dinwiddie. I think they lost LeVert. They lost Allen. They just got rid of everybody, because they thought the three was going to be enough. And we're learning now it's kind of like Aaron Rodgers in the NFL. It's kind of like, they have it all figured out. They have it all figured out. Well, you know what? A couple years later, you don't have it figured out because people adapt, people adjust, and you don't just win championships with fucking stacked in a roster.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. Yeah, it works once in a while, but it doesn't usually work that way. And that was why it was so great when Milwaukee won without stacking a roster. It was beautiful. I don't even like Milwaukee, but I love how they won. I love how the Raptors won. Yeah, we got Kawhi, but that's not a stacked roster. We won, by playing good basketball. And, they weren't playing good basketball. They were a big toe away from going to the NBA championship the first year with Kevin Durant. But other than that, it hasn't been very good. And we'll move along to the West side.
You want to move along into your Lakers. I think that's a perfect segue into your Lakers.
Yeah, perfect segue because here's the Lakers,
right?
Look at these Lakers. Like, LeBron out. I love it. Like, what, it takes fucking 6 games to win a goddamn game? Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, well, he doesn't have this. He doesn't have. Well, he fucking created this team. He's the one that whined to get Anthony Davis. He's the one that whined to get Carmelo Anthony, who isn't there anymore. He's the one that whined to get fucking Russell Westbrook. Now they can't even fucking throw him in the trash if they wanted to. Yeah. Like, they got rid of Dennis Schroeder, and now they got him back this year. But still, it's like this team was created by LeBron James. And I love seeing him cry and wince and fucking bitch. Yeah, you fucking made your bed, buddy. Now you can lay in it. It's beautiful to watch him do it.
Yeah, like I said, I'm never going to take an opportunity to not shit on the Lakers, so I'm loving seeing every minute of it. And again, I have mentioned this many times. The first 15 years or 14 years of his career, I love the guy. I have not really enjoyed watching him play basketball the last couple of years.
He looks confused.
I hate the 6'9" or 6'8" powerhouse that he is, that flops all over the court, that is just pleading for
disgusting
calls. And it's just not going to happen in this season. I just don't think it's going to go his way, unfortunately. He is the tank commander. It's between him and Houston right now as far as, like, the bad teams. Obviously, they're going to pull their heads out of their ass. But the Clippers aren't doing, in LA, they're not looking any prettier.
Well, Kawhi's done again.
Yeah, Kawhi's done again.
Right
I think they got their first win after, like, 4 straight losses or being 1-3 or something like that.
But see, Kawhi wish he would have stayed in Toronto for one more year now. Because look at how things have gone for him since he's left. Look at how things have gone for Anthony Davis since he left. And now look at how good the Pelicans look. Looks good on you. Yeah, you won your stupid little fucking bubble championship, which nobody gives a fuck about. Yeah. And now you guys are struggling. And to watch LeBron James, I watched him opening night when they got absolutely thrashed. I think they were down by like 25 points to Golden State. And, it was this is just his career in a nutshell. And you know what? Anybody's watching, hopefully Steve's watching, you know what? Because you know what? You can fucking bring up all the stats you want, and he played with this guy, and I don't give a shit. I talk about watching this guy play. And he comes out all fucking happy, doing his stupid shit in the air and stuff, and getting his ass kicked. And then he comes back, and he fucking is so mad and has such a lack of talent when it comes to dribbling the ball that he just puts his head down like a fullback and runs into 3 guys in the fucking in the paint, and then fucking throws it up, and they call a offensive foul on him, where it clearly was an offensive foul, but it could have gone either way. He makes Darvin Ham challenge the call. And what do? Just because the NBA needs their little golden boy to not cry on the court, they give him the fucking reversal of an offensive foul when they're down 25 fucking points. Just so that little baby doesn't wince and cry. Oh, boy, got my fucking foul call when I'm down 25. And then miss one of the fucking free throws. The guy is unbelievable. I love seeing him suffer. And you know what? This next 2 years of his career are going to make it real easy when everyone's said and done to say who's better between Michael Jordan and him. Because you know what? When you miss the playoffs again, motherfucker, then nobody's going to say shit about you being the best ever. Because you don't miss the playoffs twice in a row as the best ever. Don't happen.
No.
And you heard it here with Slick Rick.
Well, I mean, I know that Josh, did you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, I didn't want to add to that. I was just gonna shout out the London boys doing really well. Shaden Sharp. That was about it. Yeah, give him that shout out. Played football with the guy. I also played basketball against him in high school, and he's over there doing his thing in Portland. So looks good
man, I like that guy for sure. Shout out. We always love shout out the Canadians, man.
So buying high or selling low here. Zion Williamson, are you buying high or are you selling low on Zion Williamson right now?
Sell him. Get rid of him. He's the next fucking Greg Oden, man.
I'm not buying that guy. I don't care. I don't think he's going to be able to keep his weight down over his career. I think he's just good.
He's the next Greg Oden, man.
Yeah,
Microfraction supreme.
He's good for a pop fresh series here and there, but outside of that, I don't think it's going to be anything. Secondary buy or sell low. Over under on Saxby and 6.5 in tonight's game for the Eagles against the Texans. Are you buying that or are you selling that?
Over.
Yeah, I think so too, guys. After watching
Big
how
time.
the Titans handled that Texans offensive line last week, and with all the additions that Philadelphia's had in the offseason and the current season
Philly
on the
roll,
defensive
man.
side of the ball,
It's fun to watch. They're a well-oiled machine, and AJ Brown is making you proud every week, bud.
Okay. I will end it finally on that. The only thing I want to say, because everybody's he's bringing this up how good he is and how he's got like more yardage than all the Titans wide receivers combined. We flipped AJ for Treylon. We flipped the 3rd round pick and got a cornerback in Roger McCreary. We got a starting right tackle. We got a starting wide receiver. We got 4 starters out of one guy.
So I guess you're all right.
But anyway, we probably aren't going to talk too much about the Eagles and the Texans because it's a pretty shit game. I think we know who's going to win this game. We're all.
Watch this be the one they lose, though.
Right?
Well,
watch this be the one the Eagles lose.
Yeah,
you watch.
Exactly.
Oh my God!
But the only thing about the Texans is
my last question for you guys.
Lovie Smith.
I know at the end of this season that Jalen Hurts is going to be in the crown conversation for MVP. On the other hand, think that more deserved this season on that team is AJ Brown. What do you think?
We'll see how it finishes up.
Okay. All right.
Because I've been on Jalen Hurts' wagon since the beginning of last year, and I'll be one of the very few people standing here saying I told you so. So.
Well, good.
Let's finish up with a little fisticuff here.
All right. So, boys,
We got to talk about it.
What's that? Oh, yeah, the last one. Silva, you guys can talk because I didn't watch it. I know you guys certainly watched it. We'll do the Anderson Silva and finish off with that. So.
Yeah. Talk about. We had the big fight. We had Anderson Silva, the Spider, versus the problem child Jake Paul. A lot of hype leading up to this fight, whether it was going to happen, last minute meetings, all this shit. And when it came down to it, I watched the whole thing start to finish. Whether you love him or hate him, he's the real deal. People can still say he didn't fight a real boxer. He just fought one of the best UFC fighters of all time. Whether he's 47 or not, I don't care. His speed is still there. Anderson Silva tried to play with him, and it didn't fucking work. Jake Paul had an answer for everything he did, for the most part, including taking a couple of really big shots from Anderson and uppercuts in the clinch. It was a great fight, start to finish. What did you think, Josh?
Well, I watched the whole thing, obviously, as well as you did, Rick, and it was a great fight. Like, I thought it was his most entertaining fight. Like, I saw him actually get pressured and get a little bit of that, oh shit, like this guy is good. And like he gave it right back to him. And Anderson said to Jake after the fight that nobody can say that he's not a real fighter, because he is. He is. He's training. He's taking it serious. It'll be interesting to see who he fights next. But
we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But you know what I will say is that give Anderson credit, because he caught Anderson with a couple of those overhand rights that he's knocked everybody on their fucking ass with. Yeah, okay, and Anderson took it. Yeah, it shook Anderson up. He bloodied Anderson in the first 2 rounds. Okay, and he had Anderson going from doing Muhammad Ali to George Foreman in the corner. So you know what I mean? Like he went from dancing around doing a rope-a-dope. And, in the last round, you could tell Anderson was saving a huge surge for the last round. And he tried. He came at him with the hands, the dancing. He fucking pressured Jake Paul. And instead of turtling, Jake Paul weathered the storm, and he caught him with a body combo, jab, and an overhand. So beautiful setup. Anderson ducked down from the low one. as he was coming up, he caught him with the jab and he caught him with the overhand. Anybody says that was rigged is retarded because that was a solid ass punch,
So
and he dropped him.
that's where I
Like,
want to ask you that, Rick, as an outsider who hasn't really watched these Paul fights. I mean, any one of them I really haven't watched. I've watched the aftermath, I've watched the highlights, I've watched the ending, the knockouts or whatever they may be. This is another one of those Paul fights though that went all of the rounds, went nearly the full last part of the round, and then dropped him. One of the biggest arguments or the biggest flaws of Mike Tyson's career was that people would pay a $60 pay-per-view and it would last 5.5 or 10 seconds because it'd be over, right? And Floyd Mayweather, he was somebody who would say, I'm here to win, but I want to put on a show, and a show is going to go 6 rounds. It's going to go the full 6. I'm going to tire the guy out, right? Do you think there's something? I'm the outsider looking in.
No.
There's a lot of dots that seem to be connecting here, man.
No, man, because you know what? No. There was a strategy to this fight. If you watched it, you would see that his plan was to go to the body on Anderson early. He worked the body. He had about 30 more body shots than Anderson Silva did, and they were good body shots.
All right.
Because he appreciated, whether he talks shit and he's an asshole here and there, he appreciated who he was fighting in that fight. Yeah. This wasn't no Tyrone fucking Woodley bum fucking no credit movie loser. Okay, he wasn't Ben Ass Cream, and he wasn't any of that shit. Okay, this was a legit fighter who has experience as a boxer now and is one of the most lethal strikers we've seen. He appreciated who he was. He didn't come in guns a-blazing, but he did work the body. He stood in the pocket with Anderson the whole time, and the people that were hugging the most was more Anderson than him. He tried to get Anderson. Like I said, he caught Anderson with an overhand right like twice throughout those rounds where other guys would have went down. He didn't go down. He fought a great fight. And because Anderson got frustrated in that last round and went at him hard, he countered and he caught him with a great counter shot. So be that he went down in the 8th round. But regardless, he dominated that fight. Anderson maybe won 3 rounds at most. And, who we want to see next? We want to see him kick Nate Diaz's fucking ass because it'll be one of the first times ever I've been rooting for Jake Paul. Jake Paul says that Nate Diaz has tried to enter his locker room during fights and then leaves before the fucking fight's over. He's a bitch. I've never liked Nate Diaz, and he's lucky that he even got a win in his last UFC fight. I want to see Jake Paul step in the ring, and I want to see him kick the shit out of Nate Diaz next. So that's hopefully
what I want to see, too. That's exactly what I was going to say as well.
Wow. Well, that's a hell of a way, I think, to end the show there, isn't it? All right, well, guys, I think we talked about a lot of sports today. My mouth is tired because we've had some weeks off here, and I'm just feeling the burn now. So you guys have yourself a wonderful weekend. Prime time Titans on Sunday night with the Chiefs this weekend. Who the Raiders got?
Who cares?
Who the Lions got?
Green Bay this week.
We got a divisional matchup. Okay, well, good luck. I know you lost a tight end this week, and that's kind of tough for you. But anyway,
good luck. He doesn't love tight ends anymore because he's got.
Yeah, that's right. Good luck to you fellas this weekend. All right.
To a division rival.